I'm ready to receive the highest and best message that my energy group has for me today. Hello, Alan. Nice to see you today. Our message for you today is community. Community is very important in your, actually, we should say, community is very important in all dimensions of reality. Some say that all that is was lonely, and that is what sparked all that is to create something other than itself. The first duality, the first division, the first diversity. However, that is not our opinion. At the same time, as soon as that diversity was created, as soon as that initial division between the I of all that is and the am of being, the division that created the first dimension that seems separate from all that is. As soon as that was created, the sense of community or union with others, with something other than the self, was created. And as the various infinite number of dimensions expanded beyond that first separation, that first division, the value of community became increasingly evident, because every entity is a community. In the way that reality is structured, it is structured like the multiple layers of an onion. You can find the smallest entity at the center, and it is not a single thing, but it is a community of things, even at the smallest level. And as you come out from that quantum level of existence, these particles, these tiny particles of community, come together to form new layers of community. And the further out those communities become more and more complex. And each one of them is a separate entity. This is one of the paradoxes of existence, that every entity is a community within itself, is made up of a community of separate entities that come together and form a single entity. And every entity that is made up in that way is also part of and contributing to a larger entity that is the next layer out on that onion. And that entity is contributing to a larger entity beyond that. There's a video called Powers of 10 that you've seen. It's been a while, but it's been out for quite a long time, in which you are taken from the smallest atomic particle known to humans, at least at the time that the video was made, the movie was made, and you see how that has the pattern, almost the shape, kind of like a solar system, with the nucleus of the atom and the electrons surrounding it. And then those come together and they form molecules and cells, and these come together and form living entities, or what you consider non-living entities, although all entities do have consciousness and do live in that sense, have a sense of living. And those come together, and although it's not so clearly seen in this video, basically they form people, and then the people form communities, the communities form countries, countries become parts of continents. You basically then have your entire planet, and then you go out from that planet to your solar system, to the star cluster that you are within, to the Milky Way galaxy, to the galaxy clusters, and further out. You just have this infinite, basically it really is infinite, number of layers of communities. And each one of these is a community in which the participants cooperate to create a reality. There's always cooperation. Cooperation is one of the fundamental laws of existence within the duality framework, the duality of diversity. Within that diversity, there's always cooperation. And so community is important. Now, you are part of many different types of communities. Mostly you think about community as people, as other people, the people that you are somehow in contact with, in direct spoken contact with. So your professional community, your yoga community, you're now part of a spiritual meditation community. So all of these are communities, and there's also your more like friends, local friends community, your neighborhood community. You're a part of a lot of different communities. You tend to pick and choose which ones you want to be active in. Some you're more active in, some you're less active in. Active in the sense of communicating on a physical level, but you're always communicating at a subconscious level with each of these communities, especially the ones where you share a physical time space. But even those that you don't share physical time space with, you do connect with them and create the realities that community wants to experience. Each of these communities have a diversity of different beings, different entities, some of whom are human, some are not human, who are actually all participating and involved in creating the type of experience that community is seeking. So one of the things you could learn, and now that you're part of this new spiritual community that you're involved in that's focusing on awakening into other realities, other dimensions, and I should say when we talk about the onion analogy, the example we gave was 100% focused on the physical dimension, but there are similar layers of non-physical dimensions that you are a part of. And so you have our energy group is kind of the next layer out from where you are here in the physical reality. And that's not physical at all. It's something that's totally beyond the physical realm. Although through you, we interact with that physical realm. And similarly, there are dimensional realities beyond our dimension, our energy group dimension, that we are a part of. So the spiritual community is trying to awaken you to these other dimensions so that you can more actively participate in and integrate into your regular life these other dimensions. And by doing that, that will affect all of the different physical dimensions, the third dimensional 3D reality dimensions that you're involved in. So it's something to be aware of. It's actually an advantage to be able to communicate with people in ways beyond the voice and writing. In fact, you do communicate with them at the subconscious level in many different ways. But it's what you're going to be learning and what you're going to be enhancing is those other ways, those alternative means of communication, which are much more effective because they tend to be more true. They tend to be more instant, they tend to be faster, and they tend to be more true than the spoken language and the written language that you use, which from our perspective is somewhat primitive. It can be a very nice form of communication. We look upon it in a kind of a romantic way, from the past, something from the past, and there are some romantic qualities to that. But it is quite primitive compared to the way most entities within the multidimensional universe communicate. So you will be finding, by doing this, you'll be finding that your communities change. Your communities will shift. Because you are actually creating your full reality, the full reality that you experience. You're the one who's creating that. And the communities that you interact with are supporting you in that, just as you support those communities, those entities, each one of those entities that's creating its own experience. You cooperate to support that. So they are cooperating to support you. And as you shift, they will change. As you know, every being has the opportunity to choose infinite experiences and move through an infinite space of realities. And so as you move, the entity that you knew in one experience will look and be very similar, but will be different because the one that you knew in that original experience is still back there in that original experience, but now you're encountering them in a supportive way in a new experience, in a new moment in time. And that new moment in time has all new rules, all new expectations. So as you expand your consciousness and awareness, so will the world around you. Because you always have that world around you, that community around you. And it will only get better. So that is our message for today. Community is always there. You cannot escape community. You are a community within yourself, and you are a part of a community beyond however you happen to define yourself at any one moment in time. And as you change, as you guide your development in new directions, which is always happening, everything's always new, your community will also follow you and will change. So just trust it. Trust that the world that you know can only get better. And if you have that trust, you will experience that. We love you. We think the experiences you're having these days are phenomenal and amazing. And we are enjoying it so much from our dimension. Namaste.